When you're running a web design studio, getting paid shouldn't be the hardest part. In this video, I'll show you exactly how I handle proposals, invoicing, and payments for web design projects using simple automated tools that make the process smooth for both me and my clients. I'm Sean Pritzkow, and for nearly 10 years, I've run a creative business focused on marketing strategy, web design, and consulting with clients to help them grow and streamline how they work. Thanks to Stripe for sponsoring this video. I often talk to new freelancers and designers on the business of running a design studio. And those questions are often around, how do I send invoices? How do I send contracts? How do I manage my client projects? And what do I do when client projects aren't coming in the door? Over the past 10 years, I've run a consulting business and a design studio. And honestly, I've just, through trial and error, have learned what works and what doesn't work. And I honestly haven't had too much of an opportunity to talk about this online, where at a high level, we'll talk about what it looks like to essentially manage the process of a conversation between someone who might be interested in working with you, all the way through them signing a proposal and making a payment that signifies their intent to work with you on a project. And I have a ton of opinions on this, and I can't go into all of this in depth. And so I'm excited about doing more of these kind of videos. But at a high level, let's go over this and let's get into it. So we're going to make the assumption that someone wants to work. And that means you've done, at some level, some marketing and some sales where someone has expressed intent to hire someone like you. Once that has happened, we first need a place to track it. We need to write it down that someone's interested in working with you. And the reason is because if you don't write it down, it is very possible that just might fly off your radar, right? And they won't have a good impression of you, and you might just lose that potential client because they were eager to get started and then they just went with someone else. So what I have open right here is the system I use to manage clients. I have a CRM built in Airtable, and I just drop people in here, and then I navigate my process with them. And so you don't need to build this in Airtable. I do have a video on this channel of me building from scratch this CRM that I use. So if you haven't seen that video, feel free to jump over there and watch that. But it's not about the tool. It's that you have a place to manage this. So someone gets added to this system for me, and then I need to jump on an introductory call with them. On that intro call, I need to have a conversation with them that reveals why they reached out to me, what kind of situation that they are in, and why they are looking to work on web design projects, for example. And we also need to know that they're ready to invest in a solution like I provide. And there's a lot of nuance here, and there's a lot of ways to navigate this, but those are some of the high level things that you need to be able to discuss on that phone call. So let's say that someone has checked all the boxes, right? They're excited to work with you. You're kind of in the same playing field. They're ready to work on a project. We're going to move them along in the process. Today's episode is brought to you by Stripe. I've used Stripe for a long time in my business, and it's been an essential tool for processing payments smoothly and securely. Whether you're running an e-commerce store, a subscription service, or a digital product platform, Stripe makes it incredibly easy to accept payments from customers all over the world. They offer robust features like customizable checkouts, advanced fraud protection, and robust APIs that allow you to integrate with the tools you're already using. If you're looking to integrate payments into your own business or even that next client project, check out the link in the description. Plus, I'm hosting a live stream on July 1st at 7 p.m. Eastern, all about how web designers can leverage Stripe to help them run their business or add payment functionality to client sites. You can register for that live stream using the link in the description. I'll see you then. And what's going to happen is you're going to need to write a proposal, right? And in a proposal, you need to essentially take everything that you learned from that intro call, and you need to present a proposal to your client that addresses the pain points that they're experiencing and what you could potentially do together to solve them. Notice I said that you need to present the proposal. You don't need to send a proposal. And that is a really, really huge thing that I've learned over the past 10 years is that you don't send proposals, you present proposals. So first, you do need to create a proposal that you will present to your client at a call or in person. And so I use Figma to create my proposals. About a year ago, I transitioned my proposals from Figma into Figma slides. And so I just have a few templated slides here that help me build my proposals for clients. I do these custom. So simply, it has a title and who it's for. I have a couple pages that address the situation, the to do with them that addresses their pain point and helps them get that desired future state that they're looking for. When I do that, I often will present multiple options. I always present multiple options so that they don't feel like they need to go and suss out other options, but that if they like the idea of working with me, they just need to decide on what level do we work. I then move on to this slide, which is my pricing. And I just go through a couple options. They'll take a different amount of time, a different price, but these are the ways that we potentially work together. And there's so much I could dive into here because there's a lot I've learned over the years that help get these proposals signed and help come up with engagements that are mutually beneficial. Next, I have a slide that says, why work with me? I have a bunch of things here that out of hundreds or thousands of people online, why would you work with someone like me? And I think there's ways that are really important. Then I have some testimonials, and then I have my outro slide. So really, really simple proposal. I don't scope to death project. We need to come to an understanding at a high level, what are ways that we can work together and help them make a decision that is in their best interest. So here's my proposal. I do it in Figma, and then I schedule a call and I present that proposal. After our call, everything goes well. I agree to send that proposal to them so they can review it and make a decision. Once someone has signified over email, over a meeting or a call or a text that they are ready to move forward, I generate a contract. And I actually generate my contracts within Airtable, but I use another tool. But in Airtable, I actually use the API for another tool to generate the contract. If I click Drafts Contract, I can open the contract and review it. And the tool that I use for that is called e-signatures. You're probably familiar with DocuSign or some of these other more sophisticated tools. I've found that they are incredibly expensive. They offer a lot of functionality that I frankly just don't need. E-signatures has been a phenomenal tool. One of my favorite things about them is their pricing model is that they charge per contract. So if there's a month goes by, I don't need to generate a contract. I'm not paying 50, 60 bucks a month. I'm just spending around 50 cents per contract I send. So this is a wonderful platform, but essentially I just have a template that I have crafted over time, both with counsel from people that are much smarter than me, some resources online. And then every time I do send a contract, I likely will tweak something that I wish my previous contract said, right? And because a lot of this is just trial and error, but make it really clear I'm not a legal counsel in this area, but you do need to have a contract before you work with a client. And you can do that through a tool like e-signatures and do this manually. They have a robust API that allows you to create a test contract, create a new contract, and then send the contract. And then once it's signed, you can get that information back so that you can update your system, your notebook, right, or your whiteboard that the contract has in fact been signed by all parties. So from there we are. We have one, we've worked with a initial contact. We scheduled a phone call. We've had a conversation that shows that they're interested. We've created a proposal, and now we have a contract that shows that we're ready to work together. And so the next step is, of course, you're likely excited to pay. So ever since I started my business just about 10 years ago, I've been taking payments through Stripe. And Stripe is the platform that I've come to learn that some of the largest companies in the world use to navigate online payments. And when I realized that I could tap into that same tech stack myself, I really went all in on Stripe. And I've to this day have really taken all my payments through Stripe and use a lot of their products. And one of the products that I use for running my own business is Stripe Invoicing. Stripe Invoicing is their functionality that allows you to create both a print and a digital document that says that, you're issuing an invoice, and then you can send that to your client, and then they have a bunch of ways that you could allow them to pay you. And so this platform is wonderful. They take a payment in charge for the service, which I think is really reasonable. And it allows you to streamline your invoicing. So when I'm ready to receive a payment from a client, I send them an invoice. And I do that programmatically through my Airtable base that I've shown you, through a system that I've created. But you can also sign into stripe.com. You can log in with your account, and then you can, through their user interface, create a invoice, fill in the information, and then send it to your client, and then manage the dashboard to see if your client has paid that invoice and to keep track of it, because invoices have due dates, right? And so in my work, it's a non-negotiable that I start a project without some form of payment upfront. Traditionally for me, it's a 100% payment upfront, and then that commits me to the project, commits the client to the project. But usually a deposit of over 50% is what I'm looking for. And so Stripe is my kind of go-to tool for sending that deposit, and then also sending my final invoices to clients. And so with Stripe, we have the functionality to essentially watch if a invoice is paid and then update our system. So I do that programmatically within Airtable, and I just watch for if an invoice is paid. It's going to update my system, and I'm going to be able to track that payment and, account for it. I'm excited because, as you probably just heard, in a couple of weeks, we're going to be hosting a live stream on how to set up some of these things for your own business. So I hope that you're able to attend that live stream on July 1st. And what we're going to do is talk about how you can accept payments online using Stripe. So once I've sent an invoice and once that invoice has been paid, that signifies to me that not only did they agree to the terms of the contract and sign it, but they've also submitted payment and we're ready to proceed. This is like if this is your first client and you've received your first invoice, this is where you start cheering, right? That you've gotten what you spent, probably the better part of a week or two or a month discussing with your client about working together. You're ready to go. So from here, I update my system. I send a project kickoff email. But there you have it. We have from start to finish the process of potentially working with a client all the way to getting signed, getting paid, and then kicking off the project. Well, I hope you found that helpful. And just to recap, in this last 10 minutes or so, we discussed what it looks like to have a conversation with someone who's interested in working with you, all the way to getting contract signed and the invoice paid and then kicking off a project. And so in that, we shared a few tools that are really important for me and how I manage my own business. And I would argue one of the most important ones of those is about taking payments online. And so, like I said, on July 1st, we're hosting a live stream all about taking payments online. And that live stream is partnered with Stripe. I'm excited to have a co-host, Michael Gray, who's a longtime friend of mine, who's also a designer. And we're going to cover what it looks like to have this strong foundation of being able to take payments online, as well as if you build websites, mobile apps, and things like this for clients, it is an extremely valuable service to be able to provide to integrate those solutions you're already creating with Stripe so that your clients can make more money, generate more revenue, and then therefore your projects can be more profitable. I'm really excited for that. Hope you're able to join us on July 1st at 7 p.m. Eastern. And other than that, thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.